Think about the cricket moments that really stick with you. Often it's not just about the team winning, right? It's those intense personal battles within the game.
Exactly. Those player rivalries that just seem to elevate everything.
Yeah. And that's precisely what we're exploring today.
We're digging deep, really, into those individual contests that have become, well, legendary.
Those bowler versus batsman duels.
The ones that defined careers, captivated fans for generations. You know the ones.
So what is it then? What turns a simple dismissal into like a celebrated rivalry?
Good question. Is it purely down to the numbers?
Or the sheer skill on display? Maybe that psychological edge.
Or even that bit of, on-field fire. That definitely makes these encounters compelling. Memorable.
That's the core of it, what we're trying to get at today.
But we've got a fantastic range of these clashes lined up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, from the ones built on pure technical brilliance
Very good.
to the ones where you could almost feel the mental strain from the boundary, and of course some modern battles that are still writing their own stories.
Okay, let's get straight into it then. Maybe start with what we're calling the technical masterpieces.
Good place to start. These are the rivalries where it wasn't really about aggression or, sledging.
Right.
It was all about the sublime skill. Two incredible athletes just testing each other to the absolute limit.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how these contests, with no obvious animosity, could still push both players to, new heights.
Absolutely. A perfect example has to be Sachin Tendulkar facing Glenn McGrath.
Oh, iconic. Absolutely iconic. McGrath got him out, 19 times across all formats.
19 times. That stat alone tells you so much about their encounters.
It really does. You always sense this real strategic battle unfolding whenever they faced off.
It truly was. McGrath, he often set Tendulkar up, didn't he? Targeting that tendency to drive early on.
Yeah, that signature drive.
But what's really remarkable, I think, is how Tendulkar adapted.
How so?
Well, he developed this incredibly disciplined leaving game, judging what not to play outside off stump.
Right. Specifically for McGrath.
It seemed almost a direct response to McGrath's relentless accuracy outside off. It was targeted adaptation at its absolute finest against a genuine great.
Incredible. Then you've got Brian Lara versus Mattia Muir-Lithorin.
Oh, wow. Talk about two individuals who could just produce sheer genius.
Right. Pure magic sometimes.
Exactly. Murali's variations, they were legendary. Spin, doosra, everything.
Unplayable for most.
Yet Lara somehow consistently averaged incredibly well against Sri Lanka. Over 45.
Against Murali, that's amazing.
Think about that. Facing arguably the greatest spinner ever and maintaining that kind of performance.
This phenomenal.
And it's quite telling. Muir-Lithorin himself admitted Lara was exceptional at picking his variations right out of the hand.
Really?
Yeah, said he had to constantly innovate, even invent new deliveries, specifically to try and get Lara out.
Wow, that's respect. So, okay, sometimes the magic is in that pure skill battle, the technical chess match, but then you have these other rivalries where the psychological element just takes over.
Yeah, let's move into that. The psychological warfare.
This is where the narrative often gets, deeper, doesn't it?
Definitely. The intense pressure of these specific matchups can really expose even the mentally toughest cricketers.
Like Ricky Ponting versus Harbhajan Singh.
A classic example. And here, the numbers really paint a stark picture.
Harbhajan dismissed Ponting, 10 times in tests?
10 times. His average in India was just over 22, career average. Nearly 52.
Oh, that's significant.
It strongly suggests, a psychological hold that Harbhajan maybe had over him, particularly in Indian conditions.
It really highlights how one bowler, or maybe a string of dismissals, can create this kind of mental block, even for the greats like Ponting.
Precisely. And then maybe the ultimate psychological battle, Shane Warne versus Sachin Tendulkar.
Oh, yes. The master spinner against, arguably the greatest batsman ever. It felt like this continuous high-stakes chess match.
And this rivalry, it saw a really significant shift over time.
Especially after that 1998 series in India, right?
Exactly. After that series, Tendulkar seemed to make a conscious choice to really attack Warne, to dominate him. It changed the whole dynamic.
And the stories about his preparation for that series, just amazing.
Practicing against bowlers, deliberately bowling into the rough outside leg stump.
Yeah, specifically to simulate Warne's threat, that level of detail.
And it clearly worked. It had a profound impact.
You'd have to say so.
It's incredibly telling that Warne, a master of psyching batsmen out himself, admitted that Tendulkar gave him nightmares.
He actually said that.
He did. For Warren to say that about a batsman, it just underscores the massive psychological impact Tendulkar managed to have in that particular contest.
Incredible. Right, so we've covered the technical chess matches and the deep mental battles.
Yep.
But some rivalries, they just have that extra edge, don't they? That visible confrontation that really sparks things up.
Yeah, the Confrontational Classics. Let's dive into those.
These are the ones that often grab the headlines, capture the public's imagination.
Immediately, you think of Shoaib Akhtar versus Sachin Tendulkar.
Electrifying. Every single time they faced off, the world basically stopped to watch.
It was pure box office, the sheer contrast in styles, wasn't it? Akhtar's raw, terrifying pace
Against Tendulkar's almost effortless technical brilliance.
made it utterly compelling. Just couldn't take your eyes off it.
And those moments are just burned into your memory.
Oh, yeah. Tendulkar's audacious uppercut 6 off Akhtar in the 2003 World Cup.
Unforgettable. Centurion.
But then you also have Akhtar clean bowling him first ball in Kolkata. That roar.
Yeah, exactly. These weren't just wickets. They were huge, dramatic moments that became part of cricket history.
They really transcended the game itself. And then a bit more recent, Kevin Peterson versus Mitchell Johnson.
Ah, yes. That one had a real story arc, didn't it?
Yeah.
A definite shift in dominance over time.
Absolutely. In the 2009 Ashes, Peterson seemed, pretty comfortable against Johnson, maybe even had the upper hand.
He looked pretty composed.
But then came that dramatic reversal in the 2013-14 series Down Under.
Oh, boy. Johnson was just devastating in that series.
Unbelievable. Bowling with incredible pace, real hostility, and he really seemed to single out Peterson.
You felt that. Some seriously intimidating fast bowling aimed right at him.
It felt like a massive redemption story for Johnson, and Peterson was caught right in the middle of that storm.
Right in the firing line. He was a powerful reminder, really, of how quickly things can turn in cricket.
And how personal these contests can become. Past experiences, psychological scars, they all play a part.
Definitely. Okay, let's bring it up to the present day. Some modern epics rivalries still very much alive.
Yeah, these are the battles many of us have been watching unfold live, which is always exciting. Virat Kohli and James Anderson spring straight to mind.
Another incredible story of resilience and adaptation. You remember 2014 in England?
Oh, vividly. Anderson completely had Kohli's number that series. Kohli's average was, it's low.
Yeah, Anderson just expertly exploited that perceived weakness outside off stump, time and again.
But Kohli, being Kohli, with that relentless drive to improve,
He went away, worked on it.
totally transformed his game. And his return in 2018 to England, scoring heaps of runs, looking like a completely different player against Anderson.
That was seriously impressive. A massive statement, a real testament to his evolution as a batsman.
Absolutely. Then Steve Smith versus Jofra Archer.
Oof. That one included a really intense and frankly quite scary moment.
Yeah, the bouncer that struck Smith at Lord's in 2019, that felt like a pivotal moment.
It really did. It went beyond just, two brilliant players competing.
It had much wider repercussions for the game, didn't it?
Definitely. Especially coming not too long after the Philip Hughes tragedy.
Exactly. It led to an even greater focus, quite rightly, on concussion protocols and player safety. Changed things.
Absolutely. And finally, maybe the ultimate modern battle right now. Ben Stokes versus Pat Cummins.
Yeah, this feels like the quintessential modern rivalry. Two absolute world-class all-rounders.
Both leading their teams, all format superstars.
Their clashes during the 2023 Ashes were just captivating. Absolutely brilliant cricket.
You had Stokes playing that unbelievable innings at Lord's, the heroic 155.
Incredible knock. But then you often saw Cummins kind of outthinking him tactically, his bowling changes, his field settings.
There was that constant push and pull.
But what really stands out in this one, I think, is the clear mutual respect.
Yeah, you feel that strongly. They compete incredibly hard, fierce intensity.
But there's this palpable acknowledgement of each other's skill, their determination, their leadership. It's great to see.
It really is. So, okay, we've looked at this amazing spectrum of rivalries, technical, psychological, confrontational, modern.
Wider range.
What are the common threads? What really elevates them to this legendary status? What's the deeper psychology here?
Well, if you sort of step back and look at the bigger picture, a few key themes definitely emerge.
Like what?
Firstly, that technical contrast we talked about earlier. Pace versus spin, artistry versus power.
Right, when masters of different skills clash.
It just creates an inherently compelling story, doesn't it?
Yeah, like a classic narrative. Hero versus villain almost, but in sport.
Exactly. And then I'd say the psychological dimension is often even more fascinating than the technical stuff.
You think so?
Yeah, cricket is such a mental game, maybe more than many other sports. And these rivalries, they really put mental fortitude under the microscope.
Exposing vulnerability sometimes, even in the best players.
Precisely. And it's amazing to watch how players actively adapt over years,
Changing techniques, strategies.
specifically to counter that one opponent. That long-term narrative arc, it adds so much depth.
Definitely builds the story.
And we can't ignore the cultural context either, national pride.
Oh, for sure. Some of these rivalries, like India, Pakistan, England, Australia, they carry this huge weight of expectation, way beyond just the cricket.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think the rivalries that really resonate the deepest are the ones where, despite all the fierce competition, there's that underlying mutual respect we mentioned with Stokes and Cummins.
It makes for a richer story, doesn't it? More satisfying somehow.
Yeah, it speaks to the spirit of cricket, really. Intense competition doesn't have to mean bitterness.
Well said. So wrapping this up then, what's the key takeaway for you listening right now? Why do these individual battles matter so much in a team sport?
Well, I think these rivalries offer something for everyone, really. Different entry points.
How do you mean?
For the casual fan, they provide those really engaging, easy-to-follow storylines, makes the sport exciting, accessible.
Get you hooked.
Exactly. For the more dedicated fan, the cricket nerd like us.
Guilty.
Yeah. They reveal those intricate tactical layers, the psychological nuances of the game.
And for players themselves.
Yeah.
Young cricketers.
Oh, invaluable case studies. Mental resilience, adapting your game, striving for excellence against the best. It's all there.
So a question for you listening then. Which of these rivalries we talked about really hits home for you?
Or maybe one we didn't mention.
Yeah. Were you lucky enough to see any of these iconic battles live? We'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts.
Because it really underscores how these individual contests, all added together, build the whole narrative of cricket, why we love it.
From, the pure technical brilliance of Tendulkar versus McGrath,
To the ongoing drama of Stokes versus Cummins.
these rivalries just perfectly illustrate cricket's evolution into this incredible mix of athletic skill and sheer mental toughness.
And in the end, it's through these intense head-to-head clashes, isn't it? That's how the legacies of these amazing cricketers get woven together, forever linked in the history of the game.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into cricket's greatest rivalries.
Been great fun. Until next time.